Hello and welcome to the Track Smack podcast. This is a podcast where me and my friend Donny try to create a song based on a set of rules and challenges that we come up with once every 2 weeks. I'm Casey.
I'm Donny,
And
as was stated.
And this is our first episode. This week, we thought that our challenge could be that we create intro and outro music for the podcast.
Yeah, because it should be a little bit not full of things yet, but we can populate it with our terrible music later, because we don't really know what we're doing. That's part of the point of the podcast, is that we figure out how to slowly make music over time by
Exactly.
getting feedback from each other and other people, maybe.
Exactly. Me and Donnie are basically completely amateur musicians. I played in our high school's band for a little while, and I've taken a couple music theory classes in college. And Donnie, I know you played piano for a while.
Yeah, I played piano, trumpet, hated trumpet. Now I'm playing ukulele and some other instruments. But yeah, like we both have like a general liking and appreciation for music, but we've never really thought about doing anything with it until now.
So really the goal of this podcast is through a series of bi-weekly challenges, me and Donnie both hone in and develop our songwriting and musicianship. And so,
There might be
yeah,
some method of interaction in the future where maybe like we might have a challenge for like any listeners. If we develop a listener base, you might be able to submit songs for challenges, or maybe like you could give us ideas for future challenges that we could do in the future.
absolutely. And at the end of this, after we go through the 2 songs that we've created for this week's challenge, I'm going to hit you up with an email that you guys can send any ideas to, or if you have any submissions or anything, any songs that you want us to hear, you can send those into that email, and we'll have that at the end of the podcast.
Okay, so I think we've introduced everything. So now, do you want
Right?
to like get into like how this? So we kind of put off making this episode for a little bit. So we were a little rusty with like how like creating the songs, or at least you are, I know, because like you created yours ages ago. But like,
Yeah, I,
do you
I, I
remember?
wrote this at least a month ago.
Yeah, do you remember at all how it went? Like the process of you making this song, like how you
Right.
felt about it?
So I knew we were creating intro music for the podcast, and I listened to a few podcasts. What the fuck with Mark Maron. Um,
Wow, language.
wow. Yeah, this is an R-rated podcast, everybody. It's gonna get crazy. But and so I was trying to think like, what do the shows on the podcasts and the YouTube channels that I watch use as intro music, and there's a pretty wide variety of theme songs and things like that. And I knew I didn't want lyrics because I think theme songs with like lyrics are kind of cheesy. Um, and so what came to mind almost immediately was the zero punctuation theme
Oh, I
music,
know
which
that.
is a little a gaming YouTube channel where a guy rants about terrible video games. And basically it's really generic, like metal music. It's just very generic, double bass drum and guitar riffs and no vocals. And just it's aggressive. It gets you into the podcast, gets you hyped up, gets you amped up. And so I thought,
All right.
maybe we
We're
could do
we're trying
something
to
like
be
that for
amped up
this.
here. Yeah, I
Right.
gotcha.
And I'm not the cleanest guitarist, so I thought, you know what, I probably can't record actual guitar for this. So I decided to try to find a nice aggressive synth sound using a
So
couple
you
of
didn't
free
so you
soft
didn't
synths.
hire a guitar for
No,
this.
there are no session guitarists on this song.
Well,
Believe it or
okay.
not, it's gonna
The
be pretty
professional
shocking when you
quality
hear it.
has
Um,
already dropped.
So
Okay.
yeah, basically, this is a sort of synthy recreation of sort of generic metal intro, and
Okay, well I'm interested. I'm hyped. Let's give it a
yeah.
listen.
I didn't cut off the end.
Okay.
Quite where I
Wow.
wanted it.
Wow. 7 extra seconds. The
I
dangling.
had to pad the stats there.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, okay. I'm pretty impressed by that effort, honestly. I think it's way more put together than mine are, as
okay.
you'll see. Um,
Lower the expectations going into it. That's a good strategy.
yeah, yeah. Um, I think yours actually sounds pretty good. I mean, it's not exactly what I was expecting. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not exactly into metal, so I don't really know exactly what metal sounds like, but
Hmm.
I guess, that it does sound like an intro to something. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think of if it goes to this is maybe the question. But
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like that was something that I struggled with a lot too. 'Cause like there doesn't seem to be, we make music, so how are you supposed to make a song about making music? It's pretty weird weird
Right.
idea.
Yeah. Like going off of the zero punctuation theme. Like part of the reason I think metal works before that one is because he's got a very high energy reviewing style, and I mentioned what the fuck with Mark Maron. His podcast is just it's him playing guitar and then like a few clips of him speaking as the intro. Um, and it's sort of like a laid back kind of lazy guitar theme, which kind of fits with like a sort of meandering conversational interviewing style. So yeah, I could see maybe this being a little too high energy for the podcast or something. Or
I was
I mean, it's
pretty
not super
impressed
high
with your
energy.
I was impressed with your drum part cuz like it was really hard for me to make the drum part. I just relied on like a really simple drum. But like
Oh yeah,
you use like a down like you used a couple different types of drums there so that it would have like a better sound. Like
yeah.
that
I
that's something I didn't do maybe because I was lazy. but but I mean, I guess my style didn't really require that, but it sounded good. It had like good like sound
Well,
quality.
thanks. Well, thanks,
Yeah.
Donald. Yeah, definitely the thing that took me the longest out of that was programming the drums. Because I used to play drums, but I do not currently own a drum kit. I don't own an electronic drum kit, so I can't track anything physically. It all has to be either programmed in or you know physically sequenced. I have a couple of things that could do that, but yeah, that's just some samples I found on the internet, and I tried to make sure it was varied by changing the velocity of each hit so that it would seem a little more organic, a little more realistic than just the same volume every time. And
Yeah, that's something I've yeah, like cuz I copy and paste the notes and then it sounds a bit less organic. So
yeah,
like that's good. So you really put in some effort there.
I definitely wanted to school you on our first episode. It's
Well,
okay
you
if
know
I
what?
lose some in the future, but
Well, you know what? You know, as I always say, quantity over quality. I actually have two submissions this week, and one is pretty much a shit post,
a
and the
shit
other,
post.
yeah, one is a shit post, and which I didn't see a better time to put forth than now, and the
Hmm.
other one is serious. So how about let's start out with my serious one. I made this a while ago. I kind of went with a different idea than you did.
Hmm.
Instead of like a metal, I didn't really know what to do for
Right.
like this kind of podcast. So I was like, I'll just go with something like kind of jazzy, kind of like I'll experiment with some rhythms and stuff.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, that's what this is. Okay, so what did you think?
Okay, yeah,
Roast me.
jazzy. I agree. It's definitely a little more, definitely a little sparse. Um, but no, I definitely can see what you were going for. I think you probably got pretty close to the sound that you were going for. It's definitely kind of a playful, you know. I could definitely see that being the intro to like a cooking show or something on YouTube.
Wow.
I don't mean that as an insult. I'm not
pull back,
No,
hold
I
back.
know, but
No, I
don't even,
gotcha.
I don't mean that as an insult. I think,
No, yeah, I could see yours as a metal, maybe for some third-rate metal band, like maybe that would be like what they'd play, like when they're opening for Nirvana or something. I see. Yeah.
no. You're misunderstanding me. I
Okay.
definitely did not mean that as an insult. I just meant like, I think like there's definitely a playfulness to it. It was pretty like a high tempo sort of sound. I like what you did with the bass line. It was that
Yeah, that was my favorite part.
but it
'Cause
wasn't repetitive. You changed it up a few
no,
times.
yeah, it sounded terrible when I repeated it over and over again. So, but
Right.
that was the most fun part, was actually like changing it up so that it sounded good.
Yeah, I liked the variation. Yeah, I you were talking smack, track smack. You're talking
Haha.
smack about your track earlier, but I really don't think I really don't think you should have been. I think this was well actualized. Just definitely in like a playful direction, kind of whimsical. And
Yeah, like I want to take on like a little whimsical tone, and you want this to be about like death and destruction. I get it.
Absolutely.
We
I
just have
definitely think
different outlooks on the world.
absolutely. No, but yeah, were there any particular details you remember about making that or refining it or anything?
Mostly just what I said about the bass line. Oh, the drum
Yeah,
part, like I already mentioned, was difficult. That's why I went with the
yeah,
because like well that's not like offbeat for this kind of song.
no,
So I felt like it worked for this case, but that might have been why I shied away a bit from like a more
mm,
complicated drum part,
yeah,
because it was just a lot easier to just do like the
right, yeah, one little like brushed
yeah.
hi hat sound or brushed ride or
Hmm.
something like that. No, but I liked it, Donnie. Honestly,
Okay.
I don't
Yeah, I
think you
liked
should
yours
be.
too.
I think it really just depends. What direction what
Well,
impression do we
look,
want to give to the listener?
well, that's a good question, and there is a third way, as
There is a
one of
third
the
way. The
one of those
shitpost
presidents
way.
said, the shitpost way. Now,
Right.
as you might know, Casey's name is Casey. His name is Casey Adam Brentnall. Now,
Yeah.
let's just keep that in mind as we listen to this next song.
My name is Casey Adam Brentnall. I'm the coolest in the town. Casey Adam Brentnall. Coolest. Is
So what do you think?
I can definitely see why you prefaced it by saying it was a shit post.
Yeah.
So
I think it's the best thing that I've yet to make.
that sample that he included there was a little clip some friends of mine got of they saw John Mulaney's show on Broadway, Oh Hello, that he did a couple years ago, and they met him at the stage door, and they asked John Mulaney to say, "My name is Casey Adam Brentnall. I'm the coolest in the town," which is just like a weird inside joke from
Yeah,
them.
and
But
Casey's really embarrassed about it because afterwards he says, "All right, is that what you want?" Like, kind of like Casey's just upset that they wasted John Mulaney's time like that in his like for his purpose.
well,
So I thought I'd
in
stretch
John
that part
Mulaney's
out
mind, in John Mulaney's mind, forever now, my name is associated with annoyance.
a bit. Yeah, totally.
So if in the future I meet him on, amicable, cordial terms, he's going to have something nagging him in the back of his head saying, Casey Adam Brentnall, that guy's annoying.
Well, I think it's supposed to be that he's the coolest in the town, actually.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
so
don't think that part got through.
I really liked how I mean, I'm just going to tell you what I liked about my track now. I really
Sure.
liked
I think
how I
that's best.
stretched out the last part. All right. Is that what you want? Because
Yeah,
that's after
I gotta
the
be honest with you, Donnie. I didn't get that on the first listen. I know
the first
clip.
listen.
I know the clip, and I couldn't tell that's what it was.
Well, you know why you couldn't tell? It's because I auto-tuned the hell out of it to try to
Right.
make it go on beat. And
Yeah.
that was probably the most fun thing I did this week was trying to auto-tune that. But the thing is, John Mulaney isn't singing in that clip, so it's kind of hard to auto-tune something that isn't there. But I had a lot of fun making it. I think it was my passion project. The other one was the soulless genre of jazz that nobody should like. Just kidding. You can like jazz, but and this was something that was never meant to be a song turned into a beautiful masterpiece that we should definitely use as our intro. What do you think?
I definitely think we're going to be deciding between the first two songs. I'm sorry.
Really?
But I think the shitpost is off the table.
You just don't
So,
like hearing your name over and over again. Is that what it is? Huh. Is that what you want?
That might be it,
Okay.
Donald
Yeah.
Snyder.
Edward
So what I think
Snyder
we
the
should
third.
do,
Yeah.
before we get to our final decision on what will be the intro song, do you want to talk about anything that you hope to improve for next week or anything like that?
Well, I was glad that I did the shit post because it made me like look up videos on auto tuning and it helped me realize some of the other things that you can do in Reaper. And so yeah, like I think I learned a couple new things
Okay.
from experimenting with like weirder stuff and even audio clips like that. I realized that you could edit lots of stuff about that, like the rate, like where I stretched out those clips. Yeah, so I'm not sure if that entirely answers your question, but
No,
yeah.
yeah. Continuing to do that. I know you mentioned the drums. Maybe experimenting with more complex drums if our next challenge allows.
Yeah, I'll probably try to do that. The thing is, it's also hard because like my music kit that I use, it's
Mhm.
from this keyboard called Complete Control, and they don't have like a drum set that necessarily goes together. Like they're off of the same music thing, but they're
Yeah.
not they're not like a package or anything. So
Well, I
like I
mean,
kind of have to listen to each individual sound and see if it goes together.
right. I mean, I can point you towards, I've never done any sort of drum synthesis or anything, which is what I'm assuming Complete Control has, but I could point you towards, samples.
Yeah.
'Cause
How
I've
did that
done
work
that.
for you? Was that
Um,
like in the same group of stuff?
I mean, I had to find the samples myself, and basically I just either compressed or put reverb on it until I felt like it fit. Um, if we did pick my song for the intro, there would be a few things I would want to change. I think the that main synth line, the na 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 na, got a
Yeah.
little muddy. I would like to maybe give that a little more attack or something so that it closer approximates a guitar. Um, but that might be something I would
Yeah, you
work
might
on.
also want to
But
cut off the useless 7 seconds.
I would definitely cut off the use of 7 seconds at the end. No,
You're just
yeah,
wasting everyone's time. Ugh.
that drone underneath was part of what I was most proud of. I used that. I did that in a modular synth program called VCV Rack, and I knew I wanted to have some sort of swelling effect in it to sound like it was like leading into something. So I kind of tried to do that with that, but as you can see, it got a little out of hand at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was okay, like as a
Yeah.
whole. Was that
Okay.
like one of the things? Because you were talking to me earlier about like how there were some things you would have wanted to change. Was that one of the things you wanted to change, or what was
Um,
the part that like you said something nagged at you? Or did you already mention
Yeah,
that?
it was the muddiness of that main synth line, mainly because it kind of they're all like a semitone or a tone apart, so I kind of
Yeah, I see what you
kind
mean.
of just sounds like a single da instead of da 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 da,
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah, I
I
see
can
what you
clean
mean.
that up.
Okay.
We're learning, Donnie. That's the point
Yeah,
here at the
we're
Track Smack
supposed to learn.
podcast. We're learning, we're growing, we're developing. in a year's time we'll look back and think we were so
We won't
green.
even look like ourselves anymore.
Oh,
We'll
we'll
be
be top
ugly,
tier.
deformed
yeah.
vampires who live in recording studios.
Oh yeah,
pretty
we'll be
soon.
top tier
We'll be like
record
Dead Mouse
producers.
5.
Yes, Dead Mouse 5.
Yeah. Okay, so wait, what challenge are we doing for next week? Do you remember? Because
Yes, yeah.
we should say that.
Our challenge next on the plate is we challenged each other to come up with a chord progression.
Oh right, this one. Yep.
And then swap, and then see what the other person came up with. And so this is a fun challenge. We've already swapped our chord progressions, and Donny originally gave me this mess which had it changed between 3 different keys.
It was not
so
meant to be nice.
I asked him for his second one because I am not. I don't have the theory knowledge to be able to make sense out of
it was like
this
D minor and
E
and C
thing.
sharp. It was nothing. It was impossible.
Whereas
I thought that was
tried
the
to
point.
be nice to Donny and gave him a simple chord progression that I think it would be easy to make a pop or a rock song around.
And then I think I gave you another one, but I don't remember what I gave you.
Yeah,
it was okay.
The second one you gave me was fine.
Okay. Yeah, so you'll see what we manage to come up with next week with that. And like we mentioned before, if you have any challenges, you can submit it to tracksmackpodcast@gmail.com. We'll try to read the email in between the weeks, probably before we record the podcast, and we'll look at like if you have any ideas, if you just want to send us a message because you're feeling lonely, maybe we'll look at it.
We're always here to talk.
We're always here to talk. Okay, so yeah, that about wraps it up. Are we good to go?
Yeah, I think this time in 2 weeks, you'll be greeted by one of those 2 songs leading you in, and the way I think we were going to do it is the losing song, air quotes, gets put at the end and will be the outro music.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. So right here is it's gonna be Donny's song. We all know it. But stay tuned.
Right in the heart.
And in 2 weeks, our next episode will be out, and you'll be able to hear that.
Okay. You excited for next week? 'Cause I am. See you. Bye.
See ya. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for listening.